Hey guys, what's up? It's Biscuitboo Horror Reviews, and I'm here with another one of the classic, it's been about a year since I've done one of these videos almost, my favorite blank movie. And today I have one for you that is, I can't decide if I want to make this my favorite adult film or my favorite killer ape film. And that's like a struggle I'm dealing with right now. The film I'm talking about is, of course, Kurt McDowell's eternal 1975 classic, Thundercrack, which is quite a film. Essentially, it's a classic old dark house setup. In fact, it mirrors old dark house movies pretty well, I think, and manages to capture the atmosphere almost perfectly, weirdly enough. On a dark and stormy night, 8 strangers are forced, due to a flooding and a car accident, to spend the night at the home of a creepy old widow who has sexual proclivities. To top it off, a killer gorilla has escaped from a truck transporting circus animals. As a result, absolute madness and degeneracy ensue as they attempt to survive the night. I remember when I first saw Thundercrack, I was about 18 years old. I still had hair. I was fresh out of high school. I was wearing a Gutter Balls t-shirt at a convention. Yeah, I hate myself too. And I was walking around buying stuff. I stopped by my usual booths, Severin, Chroma, Synapse, Vinegar Syndrome. And I stopped by Synapse because I wanted to grab some stuff that I just hadn't grabbed before. I got The Life and Death of a Porno Gang, I've got Christmas Evil, Demons, Deadly Spawn, etc. But when I grabbed The Life and Death of a Porno Gang, the guy at the booth said to me, if you like that film, you should see this movie. It took us 10 years, over 10 years to put this film back together. And we included the 10-minute intermission in the film because you're going to need it. So I do it. I do it. That prospect alone, that it requires an intermission, and that it took them so long to put back together, just made me want to check it out. It was a $40 Blu-ray that was, at the time, new. It had just released in the December of 2015. I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. I didn't know what this film was going to do to me. I wouldn't say I watch Golden Age porn films regularly these days, but compared to how often I watched them as an 18-year-old, I may as well watch them regularly. I wasn't fully acquainted with weird trash when I first saw Thundercrack. I hadn't even seen Manos the Hands of Fate yet, which is one of my favorite movies. I get home from the convention, having ingested nearly 1,000 milligrams of caffeine that day. I couldn't sleep that night, obviously. So I figured, hey, let's watch this. I'm not going to be sleeping anyway. What followed was one of the most grueling and unpleasant experiences I've had watching a film, possibly ever. It was such a surreal time. I was like pausing it every 20 minutes to like go to the bathroom or get a drink, do something so I could just get away from the film to process the chunk of it that I had just witnessed. Included in the runtime is the intermission, like I previously stated. And when the intermission rolled around, which is a 10-minute intermission, I just sat there and stared blankly at the television, not really doing anything. I was dumbfounded that there was still more of this film to watch. And I somehow finished it that night. And it went down in history as the film that pretty much broke me. Here we are about 6 years after the first time I watched Thundercrack, and I've revisited it multiple times, in fact, since then. I rewatched it in December of 2021 for the first time in like nearly 6 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I also rewatched it just last night to refresh my memory of the film, and very similar to films like Sledgehammer or Things, it's one of those movies where like so much happens in it, but like nothing happens in it at the same time, to where you can't remember every single thing about the movie, and you will forget most of what just happened by the time the film is over, because it's such a just clusterfuck of weird bullshit. But it's also like really good. Having revisited this film after I've had all this time to grow and learn, I think I genuinely really love Thundercrack. I mean, Golden Age porn isn't my thing at all, but after the bizarre art theater and All Night at the Pono sets from Vinegar Syndrome, which was a total of 24 hours of ultra low budget stag films, this film is nothing. At least Thundercrack has a plot. But that's not all Thundercrack has. It also has a hell of a sense of humor. It's got wordplay. It's got gross out gags. It's got absurdism. It's all really that there's missing in this film is a bit of slapstick, honestly. The film looks really great. The restoration on the Synapse Blu-ray is like amazing. It looks super, super crisp, super beautiful. The cinematography like has a lot of noir like vibes. It has a lot of horror vibes. Like it's super, it's very beautiful. And some shots remind me of like old silent films and German expressionist films, stuff like Metropolis and like, you know, Nosferatu, obviously. All of the music in the film is like classical kind of silent film sort of, you know, piano tunes. It's almost elevator music at times. And it really it's very simple and inoffensive music, but I think it really works in the film's favor during some of the more intense scenes when the music starts to swell up. It's very, very nice, and it feels very theatrical and very real. And it also helps ramp up the absurdity during some scenes. Like, for instance, a silent comedy piano tune that you would expect to hear in a Chaplin film playing over a cum shot that's probably the best example I can fucking give you. The atmosphere of this movie is probably the strongest aspect of it, because it's so confused and like lost, but like it has a very clear vision of like the kind of movie it wants to be. It just doesn't manage to be that movie very well. But at the same time, it doesn't like... It's hard to explain this movie, and it's hard to put my love for this movie into words, but the atmosphere is just... It's just so nice. It's so strong. Like, you could show scenes of this movie to people, and they would think it's funny, and they would think it's interesting and engaging, and, like, you know, they would think it's something. They would have something to say about it. And then you tell them, hey, this is a 2.5 hour long, shot in black and white, horror, comedy, art house, underground porn film, and they immediately turn around and walk out the door. But there's no other movie quite like this one in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of everything, I should say. Thundercrack is truly a one-of-a-kind experience and a one-of-a-kind film, and it's extremely entertaining and enjoyable and kind of weirdly uplifting with its ending. It's at the end of the day, this movie is like not for everybody. But I really like it, and I think that people should see it. And I think people should definitely buy the Synapse Blu-ray of it, because it comes with a shit ton of special features. Thundercrack is equally absurd and atmospheric. It's a hardcore horror masterpiece. Not for everybody, but it's a gift to fans of cult films and outsider art enthusiasts, most definitely. I love Thundercrack, and I think I'm definitely going to revisit it again before 2022 is out, because it just brings a smile to my face every time I watch it. that's all I really have to say about Thundercrack. I don't want to give away too much about like what actually happens in the film because there's so much shit in this film that you just have to discover for yourself. There's so much stuff. I've seen this movie 3 times now, and I still can't list off every single like bit of plot and character detail. The characters are surprisingly like fleshed out. Everybody has like a weird, absurd backstory, and it's just all so fun. But I'm starting to ramble now. I'm getting way too fucking ahead of myself, and this video will turn into a mess before I can really, make the words up to stop it. So I'm gonna cut it off here and say that that's it for now, guys. This is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews signing off. Peace.